Good evening, everyone. Hello, wherever you are joining, and welcome to a very special edition of our weekly, compassionate weekly accountability meeting. Whether you are returning, welcome back. Whether you are stopping by for the first time, it is wonderful to have you here. My name is Karina Aybar-Jacobs, licensed psychotherapist and coach, and my goal is to help you heal from parentification, generational trauma, and set boundaries without feeling guilty. And tonight's conversation is very special for so many reasons. Tonight, we're talking about daughters, mothers, and the roles that we never chose. And that includes parentification, generational trauma, Marianismo, if you're not familiar with that term. And also because coincidentally, it is Dominican Mother's Day. And whether you are from the Dominican Republic, I am. I was born and raised there, but I serve folks from different continents, a very diverse population of Caucasian, African American, Latinx, East, South, Central Asia. So the conversations that are coming up and the underlying dynamics, gendered expectations and dynamics that occur within my culture, unfortunately, are universal. So tonight we're talking about that. And in particular, because it's Dominican Mother's Day, it's a day that can bring up a wide spectrum of emotions, depending on the kind of mothering you received or didn't. It is also Mental Health Awareness Month, which makes it the perfect moment to pause and reflect. Reflect about the unspoken rules that were assigned to us, that we witnessed in our families, whether outspoken or unspoken. There are rules, there are patterns that occur that so many of us carry, especially as daughters and immigrant households. And I am also excited because it is the first time that we will have a guest within our space, and I am on the lookout. Hopefully, let me see, hopefully she will join soon because I will be joined by our very first guest, the powerful Lethy Liriano, who is the executive director of the Brides March Against Domestic and Intimate Partner Abuse. If you're not familiar with the Brides March, I've had the honor of being one of the co-organizers since 2005, and it is a movement honoring Gladys Ricard, the tragedy of this beautiful, powerful, and community member that was killed by her former boyfriend on the day of her wedding. This movement was brought about by Josie Ashton, who was enraged by the media's response and the community response, who tried to blame Gladys for her killing because the abuser, the perpetrator, who was a prominent businessman in the Uptown Manhattan area, New York City, he claimed that it was a crime of passion because allegedly they were still together, which is not true. But even if you weren't, that doesn't justify unaliving anyone. And the community split. And of course, some people were blaming her. In this day and age, it is 2025, and we still witness these types of dynamics, this victim blaming, this misogyny, and oppression of women, women's bodies, women's choices. And that is why we're here tonight, to discuss the very uncomfortable topics and conversations that we must have at our dinner table, with our elders, with our youth, because intimate partner violence is on the rise as well. And in our society that is so individualistic, a lot of our community members are at risk of developing mental illnesses, of feeling isolated, confronting lack of support, lack of access to much needed resources. Lethy is a fierce advocate. She is the niece of Gladys Ricard, a cycle breaker, and a voice for women who were taught to be silent about their pain. So I will be on the lookout for when she joins us. Again, tonight we will unpack what parentification is, Marianismo, and generational trauma, as much as we can within our limited time. Because so many of us were given roles that we never chose. And I want to stop and check. Comment I if you can resonate with this. You became caregivers, protectors, mediators, when all we wanted was to be seen, to be loved, to be protected early on within our family dynamics. Comment I would love to hear from you, and let me know where you are joining from. Parentification, known as a role reversal, is more than just growing up fast or ahead of time. It is a trauma response to dysfunction. It is when you become the emotional caretaker, either to your own parents or your siblings, your family. There is this expectation. And more often than not, that expectation is on daughters. However, boys, men can definitely be parentified. Add to that the pressure of Marianismo, because we're focusing on daughters and mothers. Marianismo, and please let me know in the comments if you know what that is. Do you know? Anyone in the comments? Let's see. Okay. Hmm. Let's find out. I see the private chat. Lethy, if you're trying to join us, let me know. Okay. I see a comment. Chris. Hi from Washington. Hello, Chris. It's wonderful to have you. Hello. I'm on the lookout. And Lethy, if you are here, hello, Sally. It's wonderful to have you here. Let me know in the comments if you know what Marianismo is. What do you understand by that? Extra points for you. Okay. Oh, thank you for being here. Chris says, thank you for this space. Okay. Sally says, hello. Oh, happy to see you also. Okay. Extra kudos to you if you can put in the chat what you understand. There's no judgment here. What Marianismo is. Please let me know. Okay. Hint is derived from the term Maria. And it's not only applicable to the Latin culture, it is a universal role. However, in the anti domestic violence and intimate partner violence movement, we have coined this term from Virgin Mary. And since I'm not seeing any comments about Marianismo, and it's okay, I'm hoping that you can all feel free and comfortable enough to share in the chat, in the comments, your thoughts. Marianismo is when, let's see. Oh, I see a comment. Maria used to serve. I believe Marianismo expects the roles to be upkept. Yes, you have probably. Thank you so much for sharing, Chris. Okay. Hello, Nat. It's wonderful to have you back. Back to this comment, right? Thank you for sharing, Chris. Marianismo is what enables machismo as well. Because for there to be a machista role, right, the stereotypical male role of dominance, the role of exerting power over someone, usually the woman, right, women identifying folks, there must be a role that complements the machista, which is a Marianista. That is derived from Virgin Mary, with all due respect. However, generationally, our mothers and daughters, and a lot of us as women, are trained to self sacrifice, to embrace these attitudes, beliefs, and roles that are more submissive and that are perceived as feminine, woman-like. I must self sacrifice and be submissive. Qualities that are perceived as aggressive tend to be associated with machista attitude, a strong man, whereas a woman, it is perceived very differently, right? Comment in the, let me know in the comments, right? When a woman is more assertive, then she is, you know what? There are a lot of very condescending terms, right? So, Marianismo, derived from Virgin Mary, is this self chastity and self sacrificing for others. I must sacrifice for others. So, comment I or let me know in the comments if you have been caught in the role of Marianismo, or if you have witnessed that within the women in your family. Please let me know. I cannot wait to hear from you. And let's see. I am surprised that our guest has not showed up, so I'm hoping everything is okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing, Nat. You said I. Okay. And then Sally says, I am like that now after all the abuse I've been through has made me more aggressive. I'm truly sorry that you have experienced this, Sally. And I'm hoping that compassionately, I'm holding you accountable not to show up like the aggressor or the perpetrators, but rather protect yourself while allowing yourself to also embrace joy and explore healing and healthy relationships with yourself and others, right? Because sometimes we mistake assertiveness with aggression, with being aggressive, and that is not the same thing. So let me know. Okay. Okay. And then Chris says, my ladies were not allowed to attend college in the Dominican Republic because they were women. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chris. You see, and these are some of the freedoms that we now take for granted, but that were very normalized early on, years ago, and even in some countries as we speak right now. Okay, this was in the 80s, Chris says. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Chris. You see, and then Sally says, yes, protect myself and I can't help protecting others. I'm hoping that you can protect yourself in the process and take care of yourself because there's nothing wrong. It feels great to be giving and generous with others, but not to your own detriment. So thank you for sharing. And then you said, okay, that makes me feel much. Yes, there's a difference between being aggressive and being assertive. So let's keep that in mind. All right. So I'm hoping that you got a sense of what Marianismo is. Again, we have limited time, so we won't be able to give you extensive examples. However, um, there is this cultural expectation that a woman must be self sacrificing and endlessly nurturing, and that we have a perfect storm of emotional invisibility. If you notice, it's very often that when we associate the term mother, it's usually, oh, my mom sacrificed so much, right? But why can't we have it all? I'm a mother too, and I am trying to unlearn certain unhealthy patterns that are instilled within many of our cultures. And as I said, I I am a Latina, I'm a Latina woman, born and raised in the Dominican Republic, but I'm a citizen of the world. And I witness this with a lot of my members and clients, regardless of where they're from. They're from different continents. This does not discriminate. Also, the fact that we have a system that is highly individualistic, okay? We have also capitalism globally, which demands that both parents, right now, people are not able to afford to for one person to stay home, whatever the agreement is, whoever you are, however you identify, doesn't matter. So that also puts a strain on the family. So that creates isolation. That creates more of a sense of individualism, and our mental health is in jeopardy. As a mother or as a daughter, because we have these cultural norms also that we must be there for our elders. And I think that is a beautiful thing. Don't get me wrong. It is so important that we honor our elders, that we are loving, but we can love with boundaries. I always say, embrace the two L's, love and limits, because these experiences that we are taught, they don't stay confined to childhood. They echo into our adult relationships. So we overfunction at work, we attract emotionally unavailable people, or we struggle to say no without feeling guilty. But the good news is that what was passed down doesn't need to be passed on. So let me stop for a moment to make sure that I am addressing all of the comments, okay? And I'm not sure, but unfortunately, I believe that perhaps our guest, Lethy Liriano, might have had an emergency because unfortunately she is not here. So, Lethy, sending you lots of love. I'm hoping everything is okay since I haven't heard from you. So, just wanted to say that. All right. Anyone, do you have any questions or comments? Is this resonating with you and some of the roles that you are unlearning so far? Because I do want to acknowledge the fact that, again, it is so symbolic. Today is Dominican Mother's Day. It is Mother's Day month, and it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And these conversations are so important because even today I received many Happy Mother's Day, Feliz Dia de las Madres. And I say, and I'm embracing that um, mindset of, yeah, thank you. Happy Mother's Day today and every day. And often Mother's Day is it's synonym with, oh, my sacrificing mother. And as a daughter as well, there are all these expectations. And I was interviewed briefly by the Mami Chula Social Club, who is one of our partners, just like the Brides March against domestic violence, and Lethy Liriano, for our upcoming in-person event on Thursday, Growing Up Too Soon, where I would be sharing my story healing journey and how I facilitate that for others. It's a very raw, vulnerable documentary style video and gathering. So it would be a night of reflection and connection. And the Mami Chula Social Club was interviewing me, asking how we can hold space for our mothers as a daughter while still honoring our story and setting boundaries without being perceived as rude. And a key skill that is important to embrace is the fact that we should be respectful. We can acknowledge our mother's story, but reject the trauma legacy. And it can look something like, I can see that you went through a lot, or I understand where you're coming from. However, I don't want to inherit your trauma legacy. No quiero heredar el legado de trauma. Why? Because within our culture and many of our communities, being self sacrificing is almost like holding a badge of honor. Let's see who is the one who has suffered the most. It's what I witness often. And we need to rewrite the script. How about we ask ourselves, yes, I went through a lot, but let's see who can be the one that can live unapologetically and embrace joy the most. Because often we feel guilty as daughters, as mothers. These are the roles that we never chose. We feel guilty for having fun, for choosing ourselves sometimes, when in reality, when we learn to set boundaries, instead of perceiving them as disrespect, when we tell our mothers, like, Mommy, Mom, when you try to guilt trip me, it doesn't help. It actually pushes me away. So I want to know, would you like me to be open and honest with you and have a close relationship, or do you want to have a superficial relationship? Let her choose. Let your family choose whether they want a superficial relationship or a close one, because guilt tripping doesn't do anyone any good. What do you all think? And I'm looking at the comment. Sally says, nice. Wow. Thank you for sharing. What do you all think? How do you all set boundaries with your parent, with your mother in particular, since we are honoring um, Mother's Day, Mother's Day month, and mental health awareness, right? Are boundaries perceived as disrespect? Let me know. Because I know that when I started this work, I felt very guilty setting boundaries with my own mom. But nowadays we have a healthy and very beautiful relationship because I have held a mirror. I have held a mirror and it has been very hard. I will not say that it's easy and that it's all nice and dandy all the time. It is not. However, with love and limits, when we speak from the heart and we are assertive, and I can drop it in the comments, in the description after this video, my assertiveness worksheets for all of you to start practicing assertive communication. I always reference my compassionate sandwich method. You might have heard of the sandwich method, which is to, say the positive, then the negative, then the positive again. I like to take it a step further. The compassionate sandwich method places the value of the relationship at the center. What does that sound like? You may say, Mom, I wanted to bring this up because every time you tell me that it's okay, you can do it yourself, and that you're not going to bother me, it actually makes me feel uncomfortable. It hurts my feelings because when I tell you that I cannot do something, it's not because I don't care about you. It's because I'm trying to take better care of myself, as I would like you to do the same. I wanted to bring it up because I want us to have a close and honest relationship. And don't get me wrong, sometimes distance is the best choice if you have a narcissistic parent. It is important to emphasize that this is not a one size fits all, but all you can control is the way you communicate with your parent, the way you communicate with your family. That is all you can control. So I always ask my members and my clients, how do you want to show up in alignment with your values, regardless of their reaction? So let me look at the comments. I see. I now let it go after my brother's passing. I promise that I will not let my mother make me feel guilty. I'm a great daughter. Beautiful. I'm so happy you recognize that, because sometimes, they use that and it's a form of manipulation. And we're not here to vilify our mothers. We are here to understand and hold a mirror that it is not okay. Manipulation is not going to deepen the relationship. And it is important to express that. Now I see that says my mom would take boundaries as an attack for me trying to be her mother. So I wasn't allowed to have boundaries. Otherwise, I was a bad girl. Yeah, I'm truly sorry you experienced that. It is so common. And more often than not, it's because they themselves were not taught the concept of boundaries. It's almost like, ¿con qué se come eso? In Spanish, like, what do you eat that with? What is that? Boundaries? What? You're being disrespectful. There are even in certain families where if you lock the door, it's rude. And it's like, no, we need to normalize the fact that we are individuals in a unit. So there's a time and a space to honor yourself and honor your family. And that is okay. That doesn't mean that you are letting go of your traditions, disrespecting your family. But it is important to lead by example and to claim your space. So thank you for sharing. Let's see. Sally says, when she starts her drama, I leave. Bye bye. Unfortunately, that is what works sometimes. Let me see. Yeah, I got you now. You said, or me trying to be her mother. Yes. Then Chris says, took me 35 years to finally establish boundaries with my Dominican mother. Love you, mom. Listen, when we start doing this work, it will feel so uncomfortable because We will be guilt trip. And I said this in my recent interview with the Mami Chula Social Club. You can vacillate between being the golden child for being responsible to being the scapegoat or the black sheep when you are holding a mirror for the entire family to see the dysfunctional dynamics. When you are the one who calls it out and they're stuck in the avoidant cycle, nobody likes to be told what they're not doing right, right? So that is a very uncomfortable position because the cycle breaker is often the person who feels the most. The cycle breaker tends to be a highly sensitive person and very perceptive of the dysfunction. So nobody likes to be called out on something and be held accountable. It doesn't feel good, right? But that is how we break the cycle. Just be mindful that it is a process and be mindful to take care of yourself and to honor your values and show up in the best way possible without being disrespectful. Remember, it's not even about them, it's about you. How do you want to be remembered? What is the legacy you want to leave behind as a person? Are you communicating in the best way possible your needs? And if they don't respect it, then that tells you a lot that perhaps it's time to reevaluate and set some boundaries, whether those are physical or intellectually, emotionally. Okay? Let's see. Sally says distance is needed. Yes, sometimes that is what's needed. Okay, let's see. I left mine. She shows too many narcissistic traits. I'm truly sorry that you have been experiencing this. And I see the comments also supporting you. Sally says, I'm sorry, I can forgive mine, and anyone can. Oh. I'm a survivor of childhood molestation by my mother's brother. Wow. Wow. Thank you for your vulnerability. I am truly sorry that you experienced that. No one helped me. I forgave. I love my mom now. It feels good. It took a lot. Not easy, but our mother is only one. I want to commend you for your vulnerability and your courage, Sally. To share this online, it shows a lot of courage. I also took accountability. That helps. One day at a time and a lot of praying. Thank you so much for sharing that. I also want to emphasize that, as I mentioned, it is not one size fits all. And forgiveness does not mean absolving them of their responsibilities. When we get to the point of forgiving, I always encourage my clients and members to metabolize their anger first. We cannot simply forgive out of the blue because it's important to forgive. No, I'm sorry, but that is not healthy. It is important to metabolize the anger, express how you feel, and if and when you are ready, then you can reinstate the relationship if that's okay, if it's not too triggering and to your detriment. However, if they take accountability and you also put an effort and you are okay, perhaps it's not like speaking all the time, but making some contact somehow for your own good because you feel as a survivor of abuse, it's okay. Again, honor your own story. I'm just your facilitator here. And everyone's story is unique. And I want to make sure that first and foremost, you seek professional support wherever you are. Don't do it alone. And everyone's story is unique. Let me see. And I see Chris says, thank you for your share, Sally. And Sally, oh, thank you. It's community interactive. Yes, she's right. Time. Yes, it takes time. It takes time. We are approaching the end of our live stream. So I want to know, are there any questions or comments that you may have? What has been resonating the most for you? Don't be shy. Again, um, I want to invite you because this reminds me of why I created my short documentary style video that we will be screening on Thursday. There are a few tickets left. So if you're in the New York City area and you haven't, you can register. Hopefully by now there are still a few tickets left. Last I checked, there were like 8 only. The space is limited. We will address and explore all of these topics as well as ways to heal within community. It is so important. We are social creatures, and you don't have to do it alone. Growing up too soon, healing from parentification and generational trauma will be an evening of reflection, live Q&A, and a live performance by a local wonderful artist. Her name is Amnel and Amnel Olguin. And we will share space because I do believe that after the pandemic, we have isolated a lot and we need healing and growth spaces. If you haven't, make sure that you subscribe. We have this live stream every Sunday night, usually 8:30 p.m. Now that it's getting darker later in the day, so 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be on the lookout. I will leave the link to the event since I see some of you asking. Okay, let me see. Sally helping other young ladies on their issues. Yes, I want to go. Okay, beautiful. I look forward to seeing you. And then Chris says, Marianismo is now in my vocabulary. Thank you for your space and healing words. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your vulnerability. It is important to name because a lot of us grew up parentified with generational trauma, and our ways of coping were avoidance or no se habla de eso, we don't talk about that because there is shame. Again, we cannot heal what we conceal, what we do not reveal. So it's important to share space, embrace vulnerability, empowered vulnerability in safe spaces. And remember that your story could be someone else's survival guide. Again, I look forward to seeing some of you that are able to make it to the New York City event this Thursday, May 29th. I will leave the information in the description as well as my assertiveness worksheets. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am sending you so much love, and I hope to see you again next week. Remember your resilience, everyone. Take care. Thank you.